Was gun violence that topped the president's agenda yesterday. He directed the Department of Justice to reduce access to homemade or self-assembled guns that don't include serial numbers, so-called ghost guns, and to cut access to stabilizing braces, which effectively can turn a pistol into a more lethal rifle. President Biden also called for a national red flag law to allow police or family members to petition a court to bar people who present a danger to themselves or others from accessing firearms. The president urged Congress to take action, said nothing he is proposing infringes on the Second Amendment.
Gun violence in this country is an epidemic. Let me say it again. Gun violence in this country is an epidemic, and it's an international embarrassment. Every day in this country, 316 people are shot every single day. 106 of them die. Every day. Our flag was still flying at half-staff for the victims of the horrific murder of 8 primarily Asian American people in Georgia, when 10 more lives were taken in a mass murder in Colorado. You probably didn't hear it, but between those two incidents, less than 1 week apart, there were more than 850 additional shootings. 850 that took the lives of more than 250 people and left 500 injured. This is an epidemic, for God's sake, and it has to stop. I know it's painful and frustrating that we haven't made the progress that we'd hoped for. But it took 5 years to get Brady Bill passed, and it took even more years to work to pass the assault weapons ban. And it saved lives. No matter how long it takes, we're going to get these passed. We're not going to give up.
Anytime in politics the word gun comes up, you can expect both sides to divide quickly and start fighting each other. But there actually was some possibility of middle ground with what Joe Biden said yesterday. Kevin Williamson gave the president a bit of praise for his actions, writing in the National Review, quote, President Joe Biden has, for his part, offered a couple of unobjectionable, maybe even useful ideas on gun policy. It is encouraging to see some Democrats and gun controllers taking halfway sensible stances. And there is room here for cooperation and compromise. And Gene Robinson, there really is, especially if you look what the American people are saying. Almost 9 out of 10 have consistently said since Newtown, we need universal background checks. We need enhanced background checks. You look at a poll that was just out last week, an overwhelming majority of Americans supported the idea of gun checks, background checks at gun shows, background checks for private sales. Even 65% of Americans supported the banning of military-style weapons. Now, of course, we're not going to get there as far as a country. I'm talking about middle ground. Republicans and Democrats, I don't think we'll get to that middle ground. But there's some of these other common sense rules and gun safety guidelines that I've heard Republicans talking about. And maybe there's a possibility for some common ground here.
Well, we have to hope, it's any progress that we make on gun control, sadly, will be incremental progress, despite those numbers you just cited, despite the fact that that the public, in its great majority, is ready for farther reaching and perhaps ultimately more effective measures. But our political system is not going to get us there except by little increments. So let's at least have an increment. Let's at least take a step in the right direction, knowing tragically that it's not going to likely be a very big step toward reducing that awful toll that awful toll of hundreds and thousands of lives, more than 30,000 lives a year that we lose to gun violence in this country. It is stunning. It is. President Biden called it an international embarrassment, which was kind of an odd way to phrase it, but true. It simply doesn't happen. We had people who have mental problems and people who are filled with rage and whatever in countries all around the world, in Japan or whatever. They have no gun violence. They have no gun deaths because they don't have the guns. I mean, we're awash in guns, and more guns than people in this country. And we are going to, I hope, make incremental progress toward making that better.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.